Kim Suk-jin was born on December 4, 1992, in Gwacheon, Gyeonggi Province, into a family far removed from the chaos of entertainment. His childhood was defined by stability, structure, and warmth, with parents who valued education and humility, and an older brother who shaped Jin's sense of responsibility and restraint. Jin was not raised to compete for attention. He was raised to be polite, disciplined, and self-contained, and this upbringing formed a personality that would later be both his shield and his burden. As a child, Jin was shy, gentle, and observant, preferring quiet activities to noisy crowds, excelling academically without seeking praise, and living a life so ordinary that fame never crossed his mind. People commented on his looks, but those comments were casual, never shaping his identity. And in a home where achievement mattered more than appearance, Jin learned to see himself as average, replaceable, human. He dreamed of a normal future, one built on education and stability, unaware that this very ordinariness would one day clash violently with an industry that thrives on comparison, exposure, and relentless scrutiny. Kim Suk-jin was born on December 4, 1992, in Gwacheon, Gyeonggi Province, a quiet, orderly city not known for creating idols or dreamers, but for raising disciplined, grounded people. And in that calm environment, Jin's life began without drama, without prophecy, without any sign that the world would one day chant his name. He was born into a stable, loving family, with parents who valued education, manners, and security, and an older brother who became both his shield and his silent role model, shaping Jin into a child who learned early how to observe before speaking, how to listen before acting, and how to carry himself with dignity even when unsure. Jin's childhood was not filled with struggles or poverty, but with quiet routines: school mornings, family dinners, homework, laughter at home, and the simple joys of gaming and food. He was not the loudest child in class, nor the most attention-seeking, but he was polite, respectful, and thoughtful, someone teachers trusted and classmates felt comfortable around. From an early age, people commented on his looks, often casually, sometimes admiringly, but Jin himself never attached meaning to it. To him, his face was just a face, not a tool, not an advantage, not a destiny. His family never pushed him toward entertainment, never imagined a future on stage for him, and Jin himself did not dream of applause or spotlights. His dreams were small and realistic, shaped by what society considered safe: a stable job, a normal life, a future without risk. As he grew older, Jin continued to excel academically, following rules, doing what was expected, and walking a straight path without questioning whether there were other roads. He didn't feel extraordinary, and perhaps that was what made him human. He was a boy content with ordinariness, unaware that destiny sometimes waits quietly, observing patience more than ambition, and that his life, though peaceful now, was slowly preparing him for a transformation that would test his heart, his confidence, and his very sense of self. As Jin entered his teenage years, studying at Bosang High School, his personality remained gentle and reserved, but something subtle began to change. Not a hunger for fame, but a curiosity about expression, about stories, about becoming someone else through performance, and it was acting, not singing, that quietly caught his interest. He imagined himself on screen, not on stage, telling stories with silence and emotion rather than dance and noise. And this dream felt safe enough to pursue, without completely abandoning the expectations placed upon him. He enrolled in Konkuk University to study film and acting, believing this was already a bold step away from a conventional future, yet even then his ambitions were grounded. He wanted to be competent, not famous, respected, not worshipped. Then, in a moment so ordinary it almost feels unreal, Jin was scouted on the street by Big Hit Entertainment, an encounter he initially dismissed as suspicious and unrealistic, because in his mind idols were born talented, trained from childhood, not discovered randomly. But persistence, curiosity, and perhaps fate led him to audition, and when he was accepted as a trainee, Jin stepped unknowingly into one of the most emotionally demanding environments imaginable. Inside Big Hit, Jin faced a reality that shook his confidence deeply. He was surrounded by trainees who could sing effortlessly, rap fiercely, dance naturally, and express music as if it were a second language, while he stood among them with nothing but determination and an unfamiliar label: visual. That word followed him everywhere, quietly telling him that he was chosen not for skill, but for appearance, And while others improved quickly, Jin struggled painfully, lagging behind, staying late to practice choreography until his body ached, repeating vocal exercises that never seemed good enough, questioning whether he belonged there at all. There were nights of silent tears, moments of wanting to quit, fears that he was wasting everyone's time. But Jin did something extraordinary in that quiet suffering. He stayed. He did not complain loudly, did not demand sympathy. Instead, he chose discipline over despair, effort over ego, and humility over pride, believing that even if he wasn't talented by nature, he could become worthy through persistence, even if it took longer than everyone else. When BTS finally debuted in 2013, the world saw 7 young men standing under one name, but behind the scenes, Jin often stood alone with a weight no one had asked him to carry. The responsibility of being the oldest while feeling the least confident, the one expected to lead emotionally while still questioning his own place. Rumors followed him relentlessly in those early years. Whispers that he had joined too late, that he was there only for visuals, that his skills were weaker. And though none of these were official scandals, their persistence made them deeply painful, because they were repeated so often that they began to sound like truth. Jin read comments that dissected his worth, watched performances where he received fewer lines, and smiled through interviews where his presence felt secondary. Yet within the group, he chose not to compete but to protect. As the eldest, Jin understood instinctively that leadership did not always mean authority. It meant stability, and so he became the emotional buffer between stress and survival. He cooked meals when money was tight, making simple food feel like comfort. He cracked jokes when exhaustion threatened to break morale. He absorbed tension during arguments, often stepping back so younger members could shine without guilt. With RM, the leader burdened by responsibility, Jin offered quiet reassurance, reminding him that mistakes were human and leadership did not require perfection. With Suga, whose struggles often turned inward, Jin shared silent understanding, never forcing words but offering presence. With J-Hope, the group's energy, Jin provided balance, grounding joy with calm. With Jimin, sensitive and self-critical, Jin gave gentle validation, praising effort when Jimin doubted himself. With V, emotional and free-spirited, Jin acted as both protector and listener, allowing vulnerability without judgment. With Jungkook, the youngest who carried enormous pressure as the golden magne, Jin became a second pillar of upbringing, teaching, scolding lightly, praising sincerely, and reminding him that it was okay to grow slowly. Jin often hid his own exhaustion behind humor, understanding that if the oldest faltered openly, the others might follow, and so he learned to cry privately, doubt silently, and rise again publicly. Over time, as BTS faced grueling schedules, international skepticism, and moments of near collapse, Jin's role became clearer. Not the loudest voice, not the sharpest performer, but the one who held emotional space, who created safety within chaos, who turned a dorm into a home. As years passed and the group matured, Jin himself began to bloom, his voice strengthening, his stage presence steadying. His confidence no longer borrowed but earned, and when songs like Awake and Epiphany finally gave him space to speak, the world heard not a man seeking validation, but one who had learned through pain how to love himself. Jin did not lead BTS by command. He led them by care, by sacrifice, by choosing unity over ego. And in doing so, he transformed from the member others questioned into the foundation they could not imagine losing. As Jin moved into his late 20s and early 30s, something within him settled. Not the exhaustion of giving up, but the calm of someone who had finally accepted his own worth, no longer chasing validation from critics or comparisons, no longer measuring himself against the pace of others, but standing firmly in the space he had earned through years of persistence and quiet resilience. He had grown into his voice, not just technically but emotionally, delivering performances that carried sincerity rather than insecurity, and his presence within BTS had evolved from caretaker to anchor, a figure of stability who no longer needed to hide behind jokes to feel useful. When the conversation around military enlistment arose, it became another moment of public scrutiny, rumors, and pressure. Questions about exemptions, timing, fairness. But Jin chose clarity over controversy, responsibility over avoidance, becoming the first member to enlist without hesitation, setting an example rooted in integrity rather than image. His decision was not dramatic, yet it was powerful, reinforcing everything he had come to represent: accountability, maturity, and respect for duty. During his enlistment, Jin continued to be himself, quietly diligent, respectful, and hardworking, earning praise not through celebrity, but through character, proving that his strength was not limited to stages and spotlights. His absence from BTS was deeply felt, not because he was the loudest presence, but because he was the emotional constant, the one who balanced intensity with warmth, ambition with humanity. Fans waited not out of obligation, but out of trust, knowing that Jin had never rushed his journey and would return when the time was right. In reflecting on his 30-plus years of life, Jin's story stands not as one of instant brilliance, but of gradual becoming. A man who began unsure, was judged unfairly, struggled quietly, yet chose kindness over bitterness, patience over pride, and unity over self-interest. Kim Suk-jin did not dominate his path. He honored it, teaching millions that growth does not need to be loud to be meaningful, that leadership can be gentle, and that loving yourself is often the hardest, bravest victory of all. His legacy is not just etched in awards or records, but in the way he made people feel seen, comforted, and understood, proving that sometimes the strongest men are the ones who carry others while learning, slowly and honestly, how to stand confidently on their own. As the years continue to unfold before him, Kim Suk-jin steps into the future not with urgency, but with intention, carrying the wisdom of a man who has already proven everything he once doubted. His plans are no longer driven by fear of being left behind, but by curiosity, balance, and self-respect. Whether through music that feels honest rather than hurried, acting roles that allow him to return to his first love of storytelling, or quiet creative pursuits that reflect who he has become, Jin's career ahead is guided by meaning rather than momentum. He speaks often of living well, of enjoying ordinary happiness, of valuing health, family, and time. Ideas that reveal a man who understands that success is not endless acceleration, but knowing when to pause and appreciate the view. Jin does not chase the future. He welcomes it calmly, trusting that growth will come as it always has in his life, slowly, sincerely, and on his own terms. And as fans look ahead with him, they do so not demanding more, but believing in him, knowing that whatever path he chooses next will be walked with the same quiet courage, warmth, and authenticity that turned an ordinary boy into a man whose journey continues to comfort millions.